PI team meeting for September 25th, 2020. We'll follow our standard practice at looking at the things we've tagged for milestone 11 and go from there. So let me, oops, I will pull it up. I guess first, while I'm doing that, does anybody have announcements they'd like to share? If not, okay, I'm pulling it up, navigating to the right place. I'll share. Okay, so the first one is this one about V8 causing failures in test object. I think I saw, I tried to recreate it. It looks like Gabriel had tried to recreate it as well. I don't know, Gabriel, if you've looked at it all again since then.
Not since I tried to reproduce it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to try this
So
afternoon to reproduce.
One thought I had is to maybe request access to the machine and just try to reproduce it, in situ.
I have access to the machine, so that's what I was thinking. Like, I might even clone the job and like narrow it down so we can easily run it there. And
yeah,
so
okay.
that was kind of what I was going to investigate is, yeah, if we can't invest locally, which seems to be the case, if it's like get on the machine and run it, it just recreates, then, let's get people access and we can figure that out.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one is discussion of NAPI 7. I know, Gabriel, you have that well underway.
Yep, got backports for 12 and for 10 going, all approved. All they need to do now is land. Maybe I should do a job like a CI for 12 as well, because I think I did one for 10 last night.
Okay.
So I think that's still out. But then the rest is just is up to the releasers.
Yep.
I think after that, assuming the 12 CI passes.
Right.
I don't see why not.
But I don't think it sounds like Richard is who may be doing, I don't know if he's doing the next time, but anyway, he's part of the releasers team, was kind of chiming in as well. And so I don't see anybody complaining at least, which is good. The one thing that was commented on one of those issues was that we didn't update the matrix. The backport didn't include a matrix. I think and you can remind me, Gabriel, we may have deferred that because we don't know the numbers until the end, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we can do replace me in the matrix. Like just the way we do it for the header. I'm not sure how stringent the requirements are for using that replace me tag. Whether it only works in the metadata or whether we can just plop that anywhere in the text and it'll replace it with the right version.
I think if we talked about that before, and the problem is, like, here's a picture, we'd have a replace me in 3 places, so you wouldn't necessarily get the behavior you want.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Exactly. Yes.
So we had that problem.
Yes.
The other problem is that, like, the table was getting too wide.
Yeah.
So I did open this draft PR to break it into 2 tables, and I thought it would be good to spend at least a minute talking about whether this is a good idea. There's other good ideas. Because as we added, like every time we added one to the right, it just got wider. This breaks it into multiple tables. So like this first one just will actually stay as is forever now, I guess, other than this growing list of versions.
Yeah.
That one I wondered if, maybe we could replace with a greater than v10.x or.
Yeah. Greater equal v10.x. Yeah. That's a good idea. Yeah.
And so greater than equal v10.x. Yeah, I'll change that. Otherwise, does this look reasonable?
Yep. Another thought I had, which may or may not be good, is we could just split this out into a file and people can click on it, and then they'll get an MD file with just a matrix if it becomes unwieldy. But this is fine for now, I think.
Okay, because I think having it like as easy as possible to get at, and yes, we add versions every 6 months, but like I think with this shrunk, it'll still be a number of years before there's a real problem. And eventually, I'm hoping we can just drop like at some point it shouldn't matter when things were added to 3, or we could like move those to something like an external file or something.
That's true. Yeah. I
right?
mean, yeah, it's yeah, unless they use them in like missile launch systems, I don't believe we're gonna be
Right.
worried about version 3 of an API and version 6 of Node.
Yeah. So that's where, yeah, I think like maybe this is a good short term, like the next step. And then when we need to create the next table, we could actually just drop the first one, put it in an external link or something. Okay, so
Yep.
it sounds like generally this seems people are happy with this. I'll make that one change, and then if you have any other comments or thoughts, just jump into that PR. Anything else you want to touch on for NAPI 7, Gabriel?
No, I think it's pretty much on Rails.
Sounds good. Do we still need this to be open? I guess until
Well,
we land NAPI 7, it's good.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, makes sense. Yeah,
Here, how about
because
I?
there is one sort of wider issue, it's sort of crystallized, at least in my mind, because of this missed backport with exposing the NAPI version in core. And that's that, whatever changes we make to an API, we should have some sort of mechanism for tracking to make sure that they were in fact backported. Because it's unclear whether that change will apply cleanly to the back branch, etc., etc. So I'm not sure how to do this. But it would be nice to have sort of a, I don't know. I guess like a Kanban board or something with where all the NAPI PRs are, because unlike other changes are not so much concerned about backporting, unless there's a
Right,
specific need, right? But for an API, there is always a specific need to
right.
have them backported, right?
Yeah,
So
well, I don't know that we always have to get into they have to be backported, but I think it's good. I'm wondering if like that one is kind of like we have a process which I think covers API additions reasonably well because like they're experimental, and then if we
yeah,
actually want to make a version like we have an issue like this, it's more like that was exposing another way to get at what was the version that was supported. So I don't know how often we're going to do something like that.
right. Yeah, I guess that's sort of a foundational change that the rest is just additions to the API.
Yeah,
But I mean, we're distinguishing now, but when one of these foundational changes comes along, if ever, are we gonna get hit by it again?
yeah.
That's
I guess the question is like, how do we, is there a, yeah, I'm just trying to think what would we do that
we
would,
we
because
could
we
have
need to be aware of
a
them.
tracking issue. How about a
Right,
tracking issue in ABI stable node, right? And then we can
right.
just we can just refer to it, and maybe have like a comment with a table and edit it. Yeah, but I mean, somebody would have to sit there and watch these. But I guess if PRs in core are tracked reasonably well using the label NAPI, then we should be able to occasionally go in there and just do it. And so if we have that issue open, maybe even add it to the milestone, then even if we do nothing at each meeting, at least it'll
Sure, okay.
it'll it'll sort of snap its fingers at us saying, "Yo, maybe you should go in there and start updating."
So what is this, like, what would we call this issue? It's PRs needing backport?
Yeah, maybe tracking for PRs for NAPI, or well, I mean it is NAPI, so track for PRs needing backport. Yeah.
Okay. Because yeah, no, I could see that. And like I think with right now the NAPI team is that mentioned on each of the the NAPI PRs. So, and there's a little checkbox for like somebody from the NAPI team is taking a look. So hopefully one of us will notice that, and we can use this then to say, okay, if we see one we think needs to be backported, we can throw it onto this issue.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Yep.
And I think like what I'd suggest is that we edit this. I assume everybody can edit this first comment,
Yeah, it should be possible.
because it would be good to keep like the active ones here, because otherwise comments will get, I think, sort of
Yep.
pushed down the list. Do we want to add anything to this right now?
I can probably add things offline
Okay,
because I mean we've got the NAPI 7
sure.
stuff going on, and we've got the backport of the NAPI version variable
Right.
exposure, but that's about it.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, any other things on 7 that we should talk about? No? Okay, review external examples. I haven't had a chance. I don't think we need to open it unless anybody else has.
Nor I, unfortunately.
Yeah. Tracking issues for modules we've noted have been backported. So this is nothing new since then. Just take a quick npm node. Just keep an eye on downloads. That still seems to be, has been going up over 2 million, which is good. That's definitely a substantial amount. The node.conf EU workshop proposal. I don't know, Jim, if you've heard anything on that one.
Not so far, Michael.
Okay. Enable debug testing for add-ons. I haven't had a chance to look at that, so I don't think there's any progress there. Burning down the list of issues. So if you go to the repo, let's go to node add-on API. Oops, that's not what we wanted. Okay. In terms of pull requests, I did think that we want to try and get this one out. I know Kevin
Yeah,
spent
I've
quite
been
a bit of
meaning.
effort on that.
I know I've been meaning
Yeah.
to review it again, but I just didn't get around
Okay.
to it.
I don't think it was a huge change. I think he just, since the last time we took a look at it, he mostly removed a test. So, but if we can kind of make that on the top of our list, I think, what I'm kind of thinking is maybe we land this and then we might do another release.
Makes sense.
Are there any other, I guess maybe we should open an issue for the next release as well, and then we can include this and whatever else we think we need to land before doing that. I don't know, Nicola, do you want to open the PR or the issue for the next release?
Yeah, okay. I will do later, and the next release will be 3.1.0. Is it right?
Yes. Yep. Because it would be Semver Minor for sure.
Yeah.
Sounds good. None of these other PRs look too recent. This one, I guess, test run in both a child and process for a worker thread. That one I know has been
Yeah,
out
that
there
one's been
for a
sitting there for
while.
a while. Yeah, yeah. It's kind of it needs a lot of work now because I did add the asynchronous running of the tests. So now this infrastructure sort of clashes with that infrastructure. So I'm gonna have to
Okay.
fix them up.
Do you
But I
think
mean,
this is a candidate for the next release, or maybe it's just testing, so it doesn't
well,
really matter?
yeah, this is just testing. Yeah, it doesn't matter when it rolls in.
Okay.
It would be nice to test things in worker threads though, because there was we did have an issue with that.
Definitely. Okay. So yeah, but it doesn't sound like we should block a release on getting that one updated.
No, I don't think so.
Safer unwrap. Just taking a look. Right.
I believe we may have addressed some of this stuff because we did have no, wait, no, this was never mind. This isn't about the failure of the constructor.
Right. So it actually conflicts with some other stuff, unfortunately, but let's see.
we did have a PR that addressed multiple inheritance. So we had to change how we cast things and how we call the native equivalent, if I remember correctly. So I believe that this may have been addressed in a different PR more simply, but then again, it's been a while since I looked at it. So
Yeah. I also wonder, like, does this overlap with the thread.ex? Maybe no, this is completely separate, right? Like this might be a similar
Yeah, no,
concept. Like the thread.ex helped add some typing to that.
Yeah, no, this is about object wrap.
Right.
Yeah, I'd have to go back in and compare this change with that object wrap fix that we landed a while back that addresses the issue of multiple inheritance of an object wrap subclass.
Right. I think this was good too because it was non-breaking, right? Like basically it like you needed to define nappy safer unwrap.
Right.
Which is I wonder how easy it's going to be to how unfortunately, yeah.
Well, it's the conflict is probably because I split the object wrap class into instance wrap and object wrap. That's probably where the conflict is coming from. So some of these methods are now located in instance wrap, and so the changes need to apply to a different class. That might be what broke things.
I mean, I'm thinking we should try and land this. Is there any thought that we shouldn't?
Not in principle,
right.
but I'd have to review again. I don't think I have any objections. Maybe asking for changes, but nothing substantially.
Right. That's what I was just like.
Blocking.
I'm just typing in here, asking if he can rebase.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we don't ask for that. If we then it's like, well, we don't think we should do it, right? Yeah. Okay. So I'll do that. This one, there was some discussion back and forth. I think this one I still wasn't quite sure I understood it well enough. But I see there's an answer to my question, so we'll have to go back to that and see. This one I think I pinged Tobias, so we're kind of like, yeah, we're on the. And this one,
I think that one can move forward now, right? Because it's been backported everywhere. The detaching stuff is now everywhere. So
I think this one was more waiting on needed an update or something like this. This one's whip. And this one, I think, we just need to there's enough there. We'll need to take more of a look at it to see what we think. I guess this one might fall into does this make sense as part of an API or as a separate module question, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because I'm assuming, well, I have to look at it again to see if we can think about that. So that was in pull request issues. I don't think there's too much new there other than just we have a decent backlog to look at. I tried to answer a few of these.
This no except stuff reminds me that we should probably add the no except to all the function all the symbols that we define that are passed into an API, because those symbols, they are plain C. They have to be, right? Even if their names are mangled, their signature is plain C, and therefore they cannot throw exceptions. So any and all exception handling has to be done inside those symbols. Therefore, it is safe to mark them as no except, precisely because our interface with Node.js is a plain C interface.
Right.
So,
You mean
and
ones
my
which are just
understanding,
wrappers?
yeah, all the ones that are bracket nappy env comma nappy callback info, all those that have that signature, they can all be marked as no except because they are plain C functions, and they are passed into what looks like a plain C library. So there cannot be exceptions because they have no place to go.
Right. Now, if we
Right.
ever wanted to change that, is that like if we wanted to put a wrapper around it, or?
Around what?
I'm just thinking like if it, if today they're just a straight pass through, right? They could potentially be wrapped at some point. No.
Well, but yes, but for performance reasons, I think adding the no except is worth it, right?
Okay.
So then I mean, yes, then that would be the job of whoever proposes the wrapping to remove the no except.
But I'm not sure we could remove the no except, could we? Like, is it that would be an ABI break in the?
Well, conceptually, correct me if I'm wrong. As long as at the boundary between Node.js and the add-on, there is the function that constitutes the boundary is no except, right? Then anything that's behind that function, anything that function calls can have exceptions for all it cares, because the function that constitutes the boundary has to handle any and all exceptions, because past the boundary, it's all C, right? So there cannot be any exceptions. Currently, that boundary consists of these function pointers which we pass into core, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whatever function pointers we pass into core, there's no point in not making them no except, because they cannot have any exceptions.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
They
Right.
cannot throw any exceptions because core wouldn't know how to handle it, right? Because
Right.
it's just a plain C API call.
Right. Okay. So you're saying, right. So you're saying functions which we pass back to the C API, yeah, can never
Yeah,
throw exceptions. Okay. Yeah, that makes
that's
sense to
right.
me.
Well, they
Yep.
can, but it'll be ugly if they do, right? Because if I understand the exceptions correctly, if they throw exceptions, it will just they would be considered unhandled, even though on the Node.js side, they the NAPI implementation could be backed by C++, which can handle exceptions, but because there is that break in between, right, they will still end up unhandled.
Actually, I'm not sure how that would happen. Yeah, I'm not sure. Actually, I'm less sure now that they might not be handled.
But
But
either way, we cannot rely on
right, yeah, yeah.
the fact that they will be. So
We've
we have
said
to
it's a
impose
C
that boundary.
API, so I think it's reasonable. So
Exactly.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
got it.
And besides, we now have multiple implementations of an API. So if anybody chooses to use Node add-on API against a different implementation, which doesn't handle exceptions on the
Sure.
core side,
Yep.
then we may not want to throw them either.
Yeah, no, the
So
fact that
there's
it's
that.
a C API, I think makes sense to enforce that. So
Yeah.
okay.
So yeah, that's kind of a to-do item, is to just add no except everywhere, because it makes sense.
Yep, makes sense. Is
And
that
right now,
that's in the wrapper
all our
side, or in the in like,
yeah,
is that
no,
in
that's
core?
on. No, not in core.
Yeah, right, because
But
they're
like
C. So never
everything,
mind. Yep.
yeah, everything we give to core must be no except, or
Yep.
should be no except.
Yep. Got it. Okay. Sounds good. Any other of these that people think we should talk about? I don't know. This one is kind of interesting that there's some casting going on in ARM and 32-bit, but I haven't had a chance to think more about it. I don't know, through your work on things like JeryScript for smaller things, Gabriel, have you had any run across that kind of casting?
No, I've never
Okay.
had these problems.
It seemed like something to do with aligning for smaller platforms, but
I just have to take a look.
yeah. Okay. Anyway, thought I'd just see if it rang a bell. Okay, so let's flip over to Node and see what we got tagged for an API. Okay, an API, sorry. I think this one we talked about last week.
Yeah, I think I think the Flarna themselves concluded that it would be best to fix it in the documentation rather than in the code,
okay.
because there is no way to retrieve the current async context, and
Okay.
that makes sense because you're coming in without like a node stack, right? Which is why you're calling make callback, is because you're coming in sort of raw, and so
Right.
which async context to pick is kind of a degree of freedom, right? Like,
Okay.
we cannot decide on their behalf which async context they are to be part of if they come in without one.
Okay.
So I guess it's a best practice to always maintain an async context if you're going to be using make callback. And the documentation, I think, comments to that effect.
Okay. This is the thing here, like Gabriel, I guess, when anyone or others, when
Oh, we
somebody
should
from the
check that.
team, we
Yeah,
should
good
check
point.
that, basically say, yeah,
Yep,
somebody here. I'm going
had a look.
to tags. There's a CI. I guess we don't even need a CI. This is doc only. So, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, let's go back to.
Oh, I noticed this new tag, this request CI. Well, what does that mean?
That will
How do we
actually,
use
you
that?
can use that if you put it on, it'll trigger a CI for you.
Oh, so I don't have to go to like ci.nodejs.org
Exactly.
and launch the job. Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mary's been doing some great work in the automation side, and that's one of the things she put in place so that you just do that.
Cool.
It will do and I think I have to go check the commit queue. She's also been doing work to make it so that there's a tag to actually land things as well. So
Cool.
like exactly, yeah. Okay. So I don't see anything else newish that jumps out there. Let's look in pull requests. I think we talked about these, which are the backports. Make callback. I think like some of these. So this is just, yeah, there's just a couple of these that we just need to go through and land. Okay, so I don't see anything there to talk about. Anything else that people want to discuss?
I have one thing. So for this for my work with WebGPU and API, I started working on like this WebIDL to an API code generator, and I'm trying to find a home for it, and so I wanted to sort of float the idea that maybe it should live off the Node.js organization, and so I just wanted to get your thoughts on whether I should ask for there to be a repo off of Node.js called like maybe, I don't know, WebIDL dash an API, and just put the code there, and start having people contribute, because it's quite a chunk of work to do all of WebIDL.
Right, who's all contributing to it, or?
Not currently anybody, because
Okay.
I just started it,
Right, yeah,
and so
okay.
that's why I wanted to get it out there, and by what means should I get it out there is the question.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, do you think there'll be, multiple community contributors, or I'm just trying to think like in terms of does the node repo make sense or some other repo, or?
Well, not the node repo, the node.js org, right?
Well,
Because it is
that's
an
kind of what I
API
meant.
related, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I could also probably put it under Intel, and then it will be there. But it's kind of an API related thing, right? So
Yeah.
at Intel, under the Intel org, it would sort of stand out, whereas under the Node.js org, it would have a natural home. But anyway, that's up for debate, right? I just wanted to get sort of your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I don't have any objection. I'm just not sure whether it's like if somebody else came to us and said, "Hey, I've got another wrapper," would we like immediately say, "Yeah, put it in the Node.js org," right?
Right. Understood. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why
So
I'm kind of
yeah.
just like, if it's something where like there's 2 or 3 people from the Node community who are participating, then like it's an easier discussion.
Right.
So I mean, it definitely is interesting, and
Yeah, I don't know where to put it, because it is an API related, but on the other hand, it is kind of a separate project. So that's why I'm sort of hesitant. But anyway, yeah. So I don't know.
yeah.
I'll
Like, I
figure
mean,
it out. I guess.
you can, I guess it's like, does it need to be, you could build it out under your own org, which or own repo, your own name, which I assume is what you're doing now, right?
Yeah.
And once it gets, if it gets to the point where like, hey, there's a bunch of contributors and it looks like something that, is going to be like something that a lot of people in the community use when they're using an API,
Yeah.
then I could see saying, okay, yeah, and that's something that, maybe we can adopt
Yeah.
the
So
Node org.
yeah, I like the thing is though, like if I put it under Intel eventually, right? Because it can't stay under my name forever.
Right. Yeah.
If I put it under Intel, then I hope it won't be perceived as something controlled by Intel, right? And then
Right.
there's that
Yeah.
whole contributed to a foundation thing, and that's a big step. Whereas it kind of starts out as a Node.js project because I am part of both Intel and the project. So that's why I'm okay. I have one step. I have
Yeah.
one foot
Yeah.
in one world, one foot in the other, and I'm trying to figure out which way to go with this one.
The
But
other org we now
also,
the other org we
sorry, go
now
ahead.
have is the PKGS org,
Oh,
and that's
okay.
where we're building, different kinds of tooling and stuff like that.
Oh, this would definitely be there then. Oh, okay. That makes even better sense because it is tooling. Like I am making it like a command line interface, where in goes the IDL file, out comes the C++ file.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Now, I mean, that I think like opening an issue in the package maintenance issue, kind of asking if people think it, you can explain what it is and how it's tied to an API, and so asking there
Okay.
if people think like, because again, it's not like to date, all of the ones that have been going in there have kind of been being worked by the package maintenance team and are related to helping manage the package sort of ecosystem side of things.
Right.
But
Okay. Okay.
on the other hand, it does have the link to an API, which is one of the core Node things,
Yeah.
right? So anyway, I think
Yeah.
it's worth asking that question, see what the other package maintenance team members think.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay. So yeah, I'll turn to them.
Okay.
Okay. So then they deal not only with package maintenance but with tooling as well. Am I
Well,
understanding that correctly?
it's around tooling. Like you can actually, if you go to the package maintenance repo, you can see some of the governance. And like let me, I'm just going to pull it up. PKGS. So like the one I've worked on there is support, which the package maintenance team is, proposing that people add to their module support info. So
I
this
don't
helps
believe
validate and that
you're
kind of
sharing
stuff.
your screen.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Here,
don't
let
believe
me.
you're sharing your screen anymore.
Yep. No, let me go there.
Okay. So. Oh. Okay. Okay.
So like this is the
Oh,
kind of things we've been working on where it's like,
package JS. Okay.
it's like, hey, will changes in my package afford break other packages? Support info helps display and validate support info, which is something we're advocating to put in to your package JSON. Status board is like, hey, if you've got an organization, how do you help highlight what you need to have help? So it's kind of like around package maintainers and package related stuff. So maybe it doesn't really fit with that either.
Well, I mean, this is a tool that people would use in their binding JIP. That's because you would add an action in your binding JIP or a rule that tells the tool chain how to convert .idl files into .cc files, right?
Right.
So it is kind of a tool chain item, and so yes, it's for packages which ship native add-ons. So that's how I see this being
Yeah. I
the
think maybe actually
thing.
now that I think about it, like the node repo might be better
Yeah,
for
I
that.
mean, it's kind of like no JIP, right? It's kind of a
Right.
it's kind of a it's a tool that is being used from no JIP,
Yeah.
right? It would be.
Yeah. No,
So
I mean, on that front, basically the process is to open a request in the admin repo.
okay,
And
okay, that's a good idea.
yeah, it's basically like
Yeah,
that's, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, I was gonna say like I can do like I can do like a proposal in the admin repo, and I can show like how this would look in the binding JIP and that kind of thing, because I have like a test which illustrates how you would use this tool, um, and so I can give that test as an example in the opening comment in the
I
admin
think the main
repo.
thing is kind of like around as well, like why in the node repo versus somewhere else,
Yeah.
just to give
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
So currently, so far for arguments for that, we have the fact that it's being used from Node.js, the fact that it's tied very closely to an API,
Yeah.
right? Because it does produce, and it is C right now. Like I'm doing C and API calls rather than C++ ones, even though it would probably be a better fit, just because I want to have like the lowest common denominator,
Right.
but it has to be C++ because WebIDL by its nature is designed to produce C++ because it deals with interfaces and member functions, and mapping all that to C would be a stretch, right? So
Right.
it has to be C++, but the body of the generated code is basically plain C,
Right.
aside from some standard string and that kind of thing. So it's that C++ with a little or a C with a little sprinkling of C++ here and
Right.
there so far,
Right.
But the signatures themselves, I think, for given that this is coming from WebGPU, and given that the Google person working on the spec said that it's a fairly chatty protocol, I was thinking that we should not wrap the functions any further than they need to be, because it's already pretty expensive going between JS and C or C++ right now. So
Actually,
that's another reason I'm going with that.
the other thing I'm thinking is like just about to get approval is the concept of collaboration spaces under the OpenJS Foundation. And actually, like web GPU, like our GPU support for Node could be one of those. Like, do you think that's a space where, like, you're is it just something you're working on your own, but are you collaborating with other people and there's a spec and
Uh, well, uh, well, I mean, there are several. There's WebGPU is a spec, right, and so is
yep,
WebIDL, right?
yep,
I seek not to concern myself with WebGPU other than using their WebIDL uh, declaration, like the declaration of the WebGPU API, as an input for my project, so that I can handle all the cases, right?
mm-hmm,
But WebIDL in principle is not in any way tied to WebGPU. It's tied to like W3C specs, JavaScript API specs, right? And
right,
the final goal of the project would be to be able to generate an API bindings for all WebIDL files, whatever they're concerned themselves with, whether they expose sensors, whether they expose sockets, whether they expose hardware, doesn't matter. You should be able to generate an API code for any of those specs. So in that sense, it's independent of WebGPU, right? But
right,
the initial impetus for doing this was coming from WebGPU. So it's yes. I mean, we are concerned with web standards, right? At
Mhm.
Node.js. So in that sense, since most W3C JavaScript APIs are described in WebIDL, having a WebIDL compiler would be a sort of a good thing, right?
Right.
Um, so in that sense, yes, it applies more widely than WebGPU. But in every sense, it's the fact that it produces an API code that I think ties it to core.
Right. So there's already an existing spec, and then but you want to generate. Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay. Yeah, I can. I mean, I think open the issue. That's the way to get approval to move something in, and then
yeah.
you can get
Okay.
more broad input
Okay.
on it for that.
Yeah. We can get sort of the pulse of the community that way.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Will do. Thank you for your advice.
Okay.
That
Anything
was
else?
it from me.
Anything else we want to talk about before we close up for today? If not, then thanks for everybody for taking the time, both coming to the meeting and those who are watching, and we'll talk to everybody in GitHub and later on. Bye.
All right. Talk to you
Bye.
later. Bye.
Bye, everybody.